This question was initially posed to another tarot reader, and what had happened was they'd run out of time in the actual tarot session, and the lady posing the question felt that her particular question wasn't answered fully because they didn't actually get around to doing the spread itself. So with that in mind, I've kept the same cards, and we now put the cards that she was given into a Celtic cross spread. The question that she poses is here. I have taken bits and pieces out just so we're at the most relevant bits. And she says, I'm coming up on a 2-year anniversary of a medical event at my job that resulted in a year of Western medical testing with no findings. In the past 3 months, I feel better and more connected to the big picture, whatever that is, and have strong spiritual/mystical connections. This unwellness has been baffling other than as some sort of transition. Question: what am I asked to learn from this period of unemployment and unwellness, and is it coming to an end with a return to normal? Before moving on to the spread itself, I've just highlighted the main points of the question so we can really have a grasp of what we need to answer. So there's some spirituality there which is not directly related to the question, but it is still there. What am I asked to learn? Well, who's doing the asking? So I've indicated the higher self. From this period of unemployment, well, that is work related. And unwellness, well, that's health related. When is it coming to an end? Well, I tend not to answer that type of question. I just present the information in the spread and let things come to a natural conclusion, so I can't answer that. With a return to normal, that would be the life before illness. Okay, we'll move on to the spread and see how all of this links into the cards that were dealt. Okay, these were the cards that were dealt. For the first card, we have the 6 of Discs, which is the moon in Taurus. The moon is exalted in Taurus, which means it works very well within that star sign. The nurturing qualities of the moon going well with the earthly Taurus, which is a fixed earth sign. Crossing that, we have the intuitive Queen of Cups. Subconscious influences, card number 3, the Fool. We know it's a major arcana card. Recent past, we have the 2 of Cups, which is entitled Love, which is Venus in Cancer. Again, a very nurturing sign, Cancer. The 5th card, hopes and goals and fears, that sort of thing. We have the Sun in Sagittarius represented by strength. Not too distant future, we have the Art card, again Sagittarius coming up. And moving down into the row of the Celtic Cross, card number 7, how we see ourselves, how we're handling this situation. We have the Prince of Discs, so that's a second court card. We have the 5 of Swords, which is defeat, and that is Venus here, and it's in the sign of Aquarius, so those two do not get along, and that card is called defeat. Position number 9, we have the 3rd major arcana card, which is a Tower. We have the influence of Mars there, so that's in the position of guidance and warning. And the final card is Mercury in Aquarius. Those two get along, and it's the 6 of Swords, which is called Science. So notice the spread starts with the 6 and also ends with the 6. There are another 2 cards here, which was the Empress and the Princess of Wands, which were also dealt, but we'll see in terms of time how we go. I didn't feel I needed those 2 cards anyway, but we'll proceed on and see how we can integrate the energies of this spread. So we'll start at the beginning with card number 1. I should have said that the 6 of Discs is entitled Success. And quite often that can be seen as material success because it is in the suit of discs. But the moon in Taurus is also much more than that. It's to do with having an innate need to feel secure emotionally. Taurus is a fixed sign, so it likes things to be predictable. And if we go back to the question, is it coming to an end with a return to normal? There's this desire for things to be predictable. And crossing that, which means the energy that's somehow in conflict with that, is quite a different card. It's the Queen of Cups, which is all about intuition. I turn this card the right way up. It's one of my favourite cards of the deck. We essentially have the Queen of Cups in the background there, and she's just flowing with the whole of the picture. You can barely see her, and it's all about going with the flow. So the fact that this card crosses the fixed Taurus here means there is discord in what the client actually wants, which is predictability and that sense of just going with the flow of things. The Six of Discs is also a reminder of the successes that you've had in the past. So in a sense it is a good card, but the nature of life is always change, so it's not the final product, it's just a moment in time. The Queen of Cups also relates to the spirituality part of the question because she's very meditative and intuitive. As she goes with the flow of situations, there's more of an at-one-ment, which people often find in meditation. It's also, getting in touch with your inner feelings as well and balancing that with what is happening in your worldly life, which was represented by the Six of Discs. So that explains the relationship of those two. Okay, moving on to card number 3. That's subconscious influences and things that need to happen subconsciously. We have the Fool, which is our first major arcana card. The Fool has the influence of Uranus, which is to do with rebellion and going against the norm. It's a very spiritual card, same as the Queen of Cups. So is the Fool directly concerned about the Six of Discs, the central bit, practical matters? No, it's more about spirituality, but he can help, and this energy can help in this situation because he's all about returning to innocence. He's about creating space for things to happen, and in terms of going with the flow of life, it's like having an openness within you to allow that flow to happen. It's almost like being a channel for spirit to just allow you to move forward in whatever may happen. So fostering this sense of stillness, which we get in the Queen of Cups, because this is a still water here that she resides over. So you've got that clarity, you've got that stillness, and that's also reflected in the Fool, which the letter Aleph is silent. It's silent Hebrew. So again, you've got this element of stillness, this meditative quality coming out as something to foster in the background of your life. And in meditation, in our spiritual practice, we connect with the love here. In meditation, it's that simple quality which is innocent and yet profound, and it sustains the whole universe. And the Two of Cups is also related to the Queen of Cups. The relationship between the Queen of Cups and the Two of Cups is seen on this deckhand wheel here, where she rules the Two of Cups, the Three of Cups, and also the Ten of Swords. So I have got information on that on my website. I will be redoing the videos, but haven't got around to it as yet. But that's where the connection is. So this is where these two cards link in. So the name of the Two of Cups is love, Venus in Cancer, which I said is a very nurturing sign. And this quality of love, again, we've talked about as being a very fundamental, or it's a thing that really supports the universe and is all about loving yourself. And it's also about having an acceptance of things. So in the position where it is, in the fourth position, sort of recent past, it's linked in a way to the present, because it's another reminder that it's like this sense of love, this spirituality that has sustained this person in the past. It's there now, and it is like the key to unlocking this situation, this quality of acceptance and just finding love in its highest aspect. Moving on to the card in position number 5, we come across the Nine of Wands, which is the moon in Sagittarius. I'd made a mistake earlier in the video by saying it was the sun in Sagittarius, so I put a little corrective note on that. So we have the influence of the moon again. We had it in the first card in the Six of Discs, and we have it in the next card in the Art card. So this dominance of the moon in the early stages of the spread do seem to indicate that it's reminding the person to actually nurture themselves, be kind to themselves. And in the context of strength here, it's the sun, it's drawing on your inner strength and bringing it up to the surface to get you through what has been a difficult period. Again, Sagittarius is also quite a spiritual sign. It's very philosophic, and it's broadening your horizons. So this whole this whole period is a period of growth and learning. And indeed, we have Sagittarius down here again in the Art card, which we'll talk about next. For position number 6, we have the Art card, and this represents the not too distant future. So this is the second of the major Arcana cards in this particular reading, after the Fool, which is in position number 3 here. And the Art card again has the influence of the moon, because this figure here is supposed to be the moon goddess Artemis, and I'll talk a lot about that in that particular video for the Art card. So it's all about integration. As I said, the Rider-Waite version of this card is Temperance, which is about moderation and balance and maintaining one's sort of inner peace. And this card here is quite significant because it's drawing upon all these different experiences from the first 5 cards and integrating them to go into like a new perspective for the future. Because if we look back at the question, are we going to get a return to normal here? Well, the Art card is all about integrating your experiences and actually just being happy where you are, but finding that sort of inner peace again to stand away from all of the changes and just allow the various different experiences to integrate and to give you a wider perspective than you previously had. Again, Sagittarius here, the arrow flies, you get a much greater perspective once you learn to sort of balance these experiences and move forward. Card number 7 is the Prince of Discs, and in this position of the Celtic cross, it represents how we think of ourselves and how we are dealing with the situation. So we have the influence of Taurus and the bull here, and it relates back to the very first card, which was the 6 of discs with the moon in Taurus. Now the Prince of Discs rules the 6 of discs, so it's connected again to the very first card here. I'll just take that away. So I'll just show you the relationship on the deckhand wheel. So here we go, we have the Prince of Discs here, and it rules the 5 of discs, the 6 of discs, so it's 2/3 Taurus, and it also rules the 4 of Wands, so it's 1/3 Aries. And you can possibly see that combination of Taurus and Aries because you have the work like bull there, but you have the prince in the chariot holding the globe, so he actually has movement, he goes out into the world. So the Prince of Discs really is someone who is focused, hardworking, reliable, and he also represents sort of mastery of the body, can be through sports and exercise, but also just being more aware of your bodily and physical needs and emotional needs. And it's a time of taking responsibility for your life and becoming more focused on the things that matter the most at this particular time. So again, it relates back to the very first card. Card number 8 is the 5 of Swords, which is actually entitled Defeat. It relates to the external environment, so obviously this has been a testing time, and we're wondering whether we've got the strength to overcome the adversity in our external environment at this time. The 5 of Swords is to do with Venus in Aquarius. So Venus is a lover, not a fighter, and Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, is very much a rebel. So here we have elements that are in discord, and so it again represents probably what we feel our environment is like, which is a little bit of a battlefield which has been challenging. So we move on to the 9th card, which is the Tower. Now the Tower again is another major arcana card, and in this particular position, which is guidance and warning, the Tower, which is under the influence of Mars, is really all about having our structures taken from under us in a forcible way. And although you do get the insight here, which is the all-seeing eye, it's a more traumatic way of gaining insight. So bearing in mind the rest of the cards here, it's much better to integrate your experiences and move forward and accept that this has been a change which will change you forever, but it doesn't mean to say that it's going to be for the worst, because as I say, with Sagittarius popping up and all of this grounding in Taurus, there's lots there to be cheerful about. But in the guidance and warning position with the Tower, if there's sort of an indication that if you keep resisting, then these insights, instead of integrating, they're going to produce a trauma, and therefore it's much better to write the energies of the Queen of Cups here and make sure that going with the flow is not interfering with the desire to stay the same or go back to what you were previously. So we'll move on to the final card here. We'll go through the last two cards, but the final card here is Science, and I love this card. It's the Six of Swords, Mercury in Aquarius, and those two get on very well. In the Suit of Swords, it's mainly to do with like mental clarity, and this comes through again through learning from difficult experiences, growing through tough times, and now you sort of have more of a handle on life and can make more intelligent, informed decisions about your future, about health, about really what you want to do with the rest of your life. So there's a much greater level of awareness to our thinking and actions. And also suggests a willingness to learn. So we've got a 6 here to start with, and a 6 that we've finished with. But the two are what we've finished with. The balance that we've finished with here is not the same person as what we started with. The final two cards were the Empress and the Princess of Wands. So there were 2 extra cards that were drawn, and they are actually quite useful, because the Empress again relates back to this. We've got the moon appearing yet again, but it's the embodiment of love, that element of Venus that keeps cropping up. And here Venus is in a much more stable position than down here when it was influenced by Aquarius in terms of the external environment. So moving forward with love and nurturing oneself and accepting change does bring about a much more harmonious future. And if we go to the last card, which is the Princess of Wands. So with the Princess of Wands, a very different card. She's holding the tiger's tail. She has no fear, and there's a certain element of just letting go and having fun. There's again a childlike innocence to her, which is very similar to what we saw in the Fool, although the two are very different cards. So with this final card here, it's sort of saying, you know, by loving and accepting ourselves, we can have a much better future and just let go of that fear which was in here, because this is defeat, which is all about fear. And as you can see, she is naked, she is open to all new possibilities, and she has a greater perception, as we can see in this little sort of head dress that she wears. So I think that's the main themes of this reading. I hope people have found it helpful, how to integrate the cards. It's been very useful really for that. So I'll end there. Take care. Bye bye.